What's up guys? Today we're going to be fitting a head unit to this CLK 350, that's her. So this is what the interior looks like. So we'll go through how to pull the radio out, what the car needs. We'll look at what head unit we're going to fit, how to wire it all together, any troubleshooting, you know the deal. Let's jump into it. Oh shit.
Jeff.
Alright, done. Start ripping it apart. Get a copyright claim with the music on. Already got one.
That's being useful to me.
So what we're doing is ripping out this panel first and putting the indicator on. And then this cigarette ashtray thing comes out with two clips, which will show you what the clips look like when it's out. This is just clips as well at the top. Alright, so that panel is just held in by clips, 1, 2, 3. They are really tight, and so when I was putting my plastic panel removal in there, we actually lost one of those, but they just clip to put that back in. Okay, so a little recap. Clips on this little panel here, it comes up, and then this little ashtray that sits here has two clips right there, so they just pull in and then this pops up and out, and there's a plug on it. That will expose two Torx 20 screws underneath this bad boy, and there's two at the top here. And then when this comes out, there'll probably be another two behind this. So there's 4 holding the radio in. Sweet. Geez, that looks like rubbish. So what I'll do, I'm gonna go grab the padlock and explain how it works. You know when people order the wrong parts for cars and you just love that? Like it's the best thing. It's the best news on a Saturday. So just looking behind the radio, there's a couple ways to determine exactly what system the car is running. So there's a Harman Kardon factory amplified system. There's the Audio 20 system, which is what this car has. Harman Kardon, there's 2 ways to tell. On the doors, it will say Harman Kardon, or you'll see Harman Kardon somewhere. Otherwise, you can call the Mercedes dealer and ask for the options list. Or if you're at this stage already, you've already got this pulled out. Basically, this is called the quad lock connector. And what we see here is a whole bunch of wiring. This is speaker wires right here. So they're twisted pairs, and then there's still some fiber optics running here. And then we've also got powers. So seeing this wiring and a separate loom like that with all these speakers, with all these wires, they're obviously speakers, and we can test them to make sure as well. If you rip the radio out and there's like next to no wiring, or even just a small loom like that and some fiber optic cables, it will mean that you have a factory amplifier, and so you need a different harness. Today, for this exact setup, the harness that we're using, the CHMC1C, hope you can see, that's it there. Now it says step 1, so this is for the vehicle. So we've just gone onto the website, which will be in the description for you to look at. Jump on the website, put in the vehicle details, it will show you what harnesses are available, and then basically it'll only plug in one way. So here we have the universal speaker wires. On the other end we have the speaker wires, like I said. That's going to leave you with 2 bare plugs. Now these are called ISO plugs. Then on the same website you can go ahead and look for step 2. Now step 2 is just going to be ISO, and the other end will be a Sony plug if you're using a Sony radio. You know, there's Alpine plugs, Pioneer plugs, all sorts of plugs. You name the plug, it's got it. And then the steering wheel control module is here. So, sorry, I've gone ahead. So you plug in your step 2 and you've got Sony, makes it completely plug and play. This is the steering wheel control module, so that will allow the buttons to work. So you just tape this up nicely. This is called a patch lead. So you plug in the patch lead. This is bought separately as well, because again, depending on the radio. So Sony patch lead into there, which will plug into the Sony unit, and off you go. today what we're going to do, which is what I do in most of my videos, is chop this off. Definitely not while it's plugged in. Chop it off. Get the harness from this bad boy. So that comes out of the Sony box. It's just bare wires. And then all we got to do is just connect every single wire, color to color. And that's all she wrote. So I'll do a time lapse on this, and we'll have a time lapse on the USB. We'll show you where we're going to run the USB and the microphone, and we'll go from there. One thing I forgot to show you guys, so this is a CAN bus vehicle. So this picks up CAN, and then what it gives you is some options here. I don't know what that one is. We can look into that. So you have reverse trigger. So if you want to do a reverse camera, the trigger's right there. Speed signal if you need it, and park brake is there as well. Okay, harness is done, so we just have to go and get patch lead for Sony, and now we've got 3 Farcra connections. So that's the old GPS antenna we don't need. We've got these 2 now. I'm almost certain that's the antenna, but we'll test that because yeah, no, it's that's the antenna. If that's not the antenna, I'll let you know. Sony patch lead, Farcra to DIN the antenna plug. All right, y'all, moving on to the fascia. So this is 2 separate parts to get you to this step. So I'll go back 1 step. This is from AirPro or TDJ. Now it is just the surround. It's that part right there as you see it. What you'll need to pair with that is a universal mounting cage and bracket. Now you can also get a fascia that has all of this in one. It'll be a completely different part number, but in this case, you know, you need the 2. So you need the fascia as well as the mounting hardware. And so what happens is basically you have the fascia, you slide this cage into the fascia like we have, and from here you can just bend the pins behind this bad boy, like 1, 2, and then at the bottom as well, and that'll stop the cage from sliding back out. Okay, and then what we want to do is I'll move to the next step. So I'll get these pins bent and we'll move to the next step. In this cage, you see these little cutouts right here. There's one on both sides, like one on either side rather. So how this works with your mounting hardware, basically you've got this little package here, so we'll just empty that out. Now you've got these little slidey things, and you've got brackets here. So what we're going to do is sit the bracket on the unit, okay, like so. You know, roughly, I've done these in the past, you actually have to get it right about there, so it doesn't sit right because this is a single DIN chassis. But when you you get it roughly where you want it, you stick this bad boy over, so that holds it down. So we've got the bracket here, and then there's another bracket that goes over the top, and in these little cutouts there's little pins on here. Okay, so they fall into place like so. So then you just line up more than 1 if you can screw hole, screw it down, and it just sits in like that, so that when you slide that unit when it's all screwed in as a whole into the fascia, those pins will lock in to there. Okay, so I'll do it and then I'll show you. Okay, so this is the final product. So basically you put this bracket down, you slap that on top, find 2 screw holes like we have, and then, sorry, the GoPro's not very good at close up, but basically you can see those 2 pins. So what we do is count the empty slots. So there's 5. and then we just mimic it on the other side, and then you can do the slide. And if it's not right, you have to take it out and redo it, which I might have to do in this case. We'll find out in a sec. Oh no, might be perfect. Yeah. So what we see here is the back of the unit is lined up with the chassis there. So I'll get a close up on this on my other camera. And then the last step is this. Yeah, so that pushes over the top. And oh, that's why I hated these fascias. Yeah, so basically that's the last step, but your unit will sit out like that. You can't change it, because if you see that bracket there, this piece, even without the unit in, sits like that. It won't go any further back, and obviously the bracket can't go any further back because it's sitting on the fascia. So even without a unit, it sits out like that. Just so when you put this in, your unit won't sit flush. So if you don't like that, don't get this fascia. I don't like it. I hate that. We've already tried in the past. Yeah, it's gloss as well, and that's matte. We've tried in the past pushing the unit back further. We thought that's what it was, and then you put this on, and you've got a huge gap between the unit and this because you've put the unit back, and that won't go further. So the unit's actually perfect placement. It just sits out and looks like crap. So yeah, like I said, even without the unit, you can push that back and it will only sit about there. All right. Okay, so that's your final product. So it's not too bad, like it's okay, but I prefer flush. So if that would come, everything could just come back a little bit, would be perfect. But you know, it is what it is. All right, we're gonna do some testing and then put this back together. This panel slides on top of that, so that just clicks in. Now the two brackets that were on here we had to cut off because they were getting in the way of this going back on. So we removed those, pushed the fascia in, and now as you can see there's a bit of a gap in here and there. So this is how it should be normally, and the fascia is just a little bit bigger. So I went inside and just double checked that this is the right fascia for this car, and it is 100% listed. So that is the way that it will be. Then you've also got this, so I wasn't a fan of that, but again, that's how this fascia works. Next up is this. So that goes on, and at the top here it clicks into this fascia, and then at the bottom you've got two screws. Also this fascia is held in by two screws behind this panel down here. So screws, clips, clips, screws. Then that little ashtray cigarette lighter thing, we've mounted that, and you can see our little custom flush mount is in there nicely. And then this panel has a little dick that goes in there and then clicks on and pushes down. And there's two plugs in that, and that goes down like that and just clicks on. That's easy. And then that's about it. Now we can turn it on and test it. Alright, moment of truth. Unit works. Sound obviously works. Nice and loud. And steering wheel controls. Beautiful. Alright. So we'll go through and get this thing set up. And I guess that's about it. Guys, that is it for the CLK. Thank you so much for watching. If you're going to go ahead and do this install, I would not... There he is. The man, the myth. I would not go ahead and get that fascia, the one that we use. Get the other one. I'll leave the part number in the description for you. The one that we use is a little bit too big. The unit sticks out, just looks like crap. So, you know, I'll chuck that in the bin. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Also, that's the car that we're doing next. Just doing a head unit. If you want to see videos on cars like that, just let me know and I'll start recording them, slapping them on YouTube.